Greetings everyone, I am Sandalwood99, and welcome back to part 4 of the Mansions of Madness playthrough. Alright, and when we last left off, Joe Diamond had defeated the monster in the kitchen, and then Mandy Thompson went over here. Mandy Thompson's going to use the medical textbook on herself twice, because there's no component action limitations like in Eldritch. So I decided that I want Joe to go here so that he's ready to put out the fire next turn. So before he leaves the room, he's going to ask this ghost guy what's going on. And the ghost's eyes seem to peer into his very soul, and he has to do a influence test. Joe Diamond has an influence of 3. That's 2 successes. So tell me after I got 2 successes. Very well, the ghost pauses, as if listening for something. I was attempting to perform an important ritual when someone interfered. I cannot hold these forms long. If you wish to know the truth, seek out the journal. I have stored it in the shed. I believe you will find it quite illuminating. I already read that stupid journal. So Joe Diamond gains 2 clues, which I'm not upset about. And then he takes a movement action over into the hall. Alright. Sister Mary's going 1, 2. And we're going to interact with this search token here, the 2 stones. Looking them over, you see 2 names listed along with a set of dates. The rocks seem to be some sort of memorial or marker for the deceased's parents. Not even remotely useful. And Sister Mary gains 1 clue token. At the start of the Mythos phase, the fire spreads there. Unbidden, the terrible things you have seen rise up from your memory, where they were safely locked away. Each investigator flips 2 horror face up. So it's got 1. It is Hysteria. He flips 1 damage face up, which is a minor injury. Nice. So, just Joe Diamond screams and screams at all the horrible shit he's seen. She's got a sudden shock. Oh, I hate that one. So, she drops her Bible and the ritual components. And the other card was Flashback, which flips over a minor shock. No additional effect. She's got a minor shock and a minor shock. Unearthly shriek can be heard from under the floor. The spectral man stops his pacing and calls out in a strange language before sinking through the floorboards. Alright, Joe Diamond's up first, and he wants to get into this room, so he's going to do an agility test to see if he can put out any fire. Alright, he's got 5 dice. Alright, 2 successes, that's not bad. His second action, he takes a move, and he can discard 2 fire tokens as he goes. Alright, Sister Mary's going to spend her first action picking up that Bible she dropped. And then with her second action, I'm worried that if I leave her out there, she's going to be in danger, so I think she's going to head back inside. Alright, Mandy, she's going to take a movement, and then another movement. And all the investigators have acted, so it is the Mythos phase. At the start of the Mythos phase, another spot burns. You are suddenly aware of the awful, unstoppable passage of time, obsessively dwelling on your ultimate mortal fate. Each investigator suffers 2 face-down horror, with their willpower negating. So Diamond has a will of 3. Alright. That's 1 success. He'll take 1 face-down horror. Sister Mary has a will of 5. Oh! Sister Mary's like, oh, you, whatever. When I die, go to heaven. Whatever. Mandy Thompson, will of 3. Alright. She'll go ahead and spend a clue and save herself that other horror. The lights flicker, and a great booming noise is followed by the sound of cracking wood and brick. The whole house shudders and sways. A strange spectral voice chants from somewhere unseen, and suddenly it is over. But great cracks have appeared in the floors and walls. Whatever force is in the cellar is close to escaping. Each investigator suffers 3 face-down horror, with their willpower negating. Second verse, same as the first. Show Diamond has a will of 3. Ah, boom! He's like, yeah, I know what has to be done. That's why I put out this fire and got us into this room. Everyone shut the fuck up. I'm in charge. Alright, Sister Mary's got a will of 5. 2 successes, so she'll take 1 face-down horror. And Mandy Thompson has a will of 3. 2 successes and another clue. Alright, Mandy Thompson's going to go first, and she's going to look at this pile of ash in the corner. You kneel down and examine the ash, only to recoil when you see several human teeth. She suffers 2 horror with her willpower negating. Mandy Thompson's will was 3. Boom, no horror damage. Among the ashes, you find an amulet with a wave motif surmounting a green stone. With the victim's body removed from the scene, you are forced to consider that you have just discovered the remains of the murderer. Glancing at the blackened fireplace, you thank whatever providence has kept you from a similar fate. Alright, Mandy gains 2 clue tokens, which is 3 because of her ability, and she gains the focused condition. Alright, with her second action, she's going to search this desk here. It's covered in papers, some with strange esoteric scrawls on them. One of the pages looks like it was ripped right out of some tome, but you find the language it is written in alien and bizarre. Thankfully, the notes in the margins are in English. So the binding will not break immediately on death. Rather, it will become weak and begin to fade away. The spells I have cast on the house should help for a time if my mortality catches up with me. Still better to avoid dying altogether. Alright, Mandy gains 1 clue token, which becomes 2. Under the page, a scroll pulsates with a strange power, and she gains the arcane manuscript. Even though it will damage him, Joe's going to take a movement action into this space. He takes a face-down damage for that. Then I think he's going to interact with this search token here. A hefty tome weighs down on an overcrowded shelf. You pull out the tome only to find its insides have been carved out, and a small puzzle box has been discreetly placed in the hiding spot. Joe Diamond gains the puzzle box unique item, which the game tells us an investigator holding that item can interact with. Alright, I'm pretty sure that this monster is going to wake up any time now, so Sister Mary's going to take a full 2 movement actions all the way over here, so that next time she can pick up a spell. So it is the Mythos phase, and we'll tell the app that. The start of the Mythos phase, fire spreads. Sister Mary's bones creak and become brittle as stale bread. Sister Mary suffers 2 face-down damage and 2 horror, with her willpower negating. Sister Mary at least has a will of 5. Okay, well, that's 2. She'll spend a clue token, and will prevent both the horror and 1 of the face-down damages. So Sister Mary takes 1 face-down damage, and then she flips 3 horror face-up and becomes dazed. She's got a sudden shock. She'll be dropping 2 random items again. And a minor shock for no additional effect. Alright, she drops the Elder Ward and the ritual components this time. Unfortunately, she'll be spending her first action to pick those all up next turn. The house trembles, and the binding on the cellar breaks. The only other door in the cellar is chained shut. You will not be able to get through it. A terrible being flickers in and out of existence before reality bends around it, and it becomes whole. Though the magic that kept the beast confined to the cellar has eroded, the house itself seems to fill with power that will slow the beast's escape from the house and grounds. The walls glow with arcane energy, and though the front door shudders and vibrates, the wood starts to splitter loudly. The binding magic seems to be particularly weak here. This is the exit. If the horror can reach the exit, it will be able to escape the magic that keeps it bound to this house and wreak havoc on Arkham. And we must stop it. We must defeat the otherworldly monster or find a way to seal it away before it escapes. So the monster suffers 1 damage for starting in a space with fire, and then it moves 1 space towards the exit. And will take another damage from moving into that fire. Then, if it is not in the same space as the exit, it attacks each investigator within range. Everyone else is inside, so we tell them that there are no investigators within range. And the Star Spawn moves 1 additional space and takes another damage. Sister Mary's going to spend her first action picking up everything she dropped and a now useful spell, and then she'll take a move action out into the hall. Alright, well, no holds back now. Mandy Thompson's going to make a full sprint for the grounds. And Joe Diamond's not far behind her. So at the start of the Mythos phase, the fire spreads. The cheap item snaps as Joe Diamond tries to lift it. Unfortunately, it is now completely useless. Joe Diamond discards 1 random common item, which is his shovel. With a terrible cry, a terrifying beast crashes through the mansion's window. Starspawn takes the damage for starting his turn in a space with fire. And then he moves 1 space toward the exit and takes another damage for that fire. And then we tell it again that there are no investigators within range. And he moves an additional space. But this time takes no damage. Meanwhile, this Migu is going to move 2 spaces toward the nearest investigator. Sister Mary's 3 spaces away. 1, 2, 3, 4 for Mandy, so it's coming out into the hall after Sister Mary. And then it attacks the investigator in its space, but there is no one in this space. She's not quite there, but she will have to resolve a horror check against it. The creature holds a jar in its claws, twitching at various scientific instruments arrayed along its rim. As the liquid in the jar swirls, you can see a human brain attached to wires running into the jar. Sister Mary suffers 2 horror, with will -1 negating. Sister Mary has a will of 5, -1 is 4. Looking for not a bunch of blanks. That's really not what she was looking for. She's going to spend the 1 clue to prevent 1 horror. Alright, she's got 6 horror now. This will be her 7th. It's face up. She's cowering in fear. So she becomes stunned. Means she'll only get a single action next round. Alright, things are looking a little grim, but no one ever says I don't go down without a fight, so Joe Diamond's taking a movement action to come out here. Brah! And he's going to take a shot at him with his shotgun. With the beast squarely in his sights, Joe Diamond opens fire. It's an agility test. Joe Diamond's got an agility of 5. Alright, well, Joe Diamond's, got super efficient clues, so with 1, he can turn 2 of those investigations into the successes he needs. And should he spend another one to get another success? No, we'll keep that one for now. The lead punches violently into the creature's side. The monster suffers damage equal to the weapon's damage plus our test result, which is 9 damage in total. So Mandy's going to take a move action as well and come out here. She could move again, but she'd have to do a evade check. So she'll just hang out here and attack the creature. She's got Wither, which is 2, but she also has the 45 automatic, which is 4, but is less likely to succeed. Let's use the 45 automatic anyways. She brings up her weapon and fires in one smooth movement. Alright, Mandy Thompson has an agility of 3. I'll reroll this one that went out of the thing. Hey, that knocked that one, so I won't count that, but that's the second success. Mandy can feel her aim is true even before she pulls the trigger, and the monster suffers damage equal to the weapon's damage, which is 4. Alright, as tempting as it was to have her attack this Migu that she's just seen, I think she's going to use her only action to move out here. She's no longer stunned. Her turn is over. She's going to head out here to try to help them bring down this beast. Alright, at the start of the Mythos phase, this fire is going to spread here onto us. Then popping and hissing, the flames leap higher. Sparks leap up toward the sky, dancing and darting like something alive. Some of the sparks streak to land upon you, burning your flesh. Everyone's going to suffer 2 face-down damage. The monster is going to take 1 damage for starting his turn in a space with fire. But he is also going to move 1 space toward the exit. Then, if it's not in the same space as an exit, it attacks each investigator within range, which this time will be Joe and Mandy. The creature generates a low, thrumming sound, a rhythm like a heartbeat that runs through your body. The humming grows in intensity, and you feel your body coming apart at the seams. A chill grips you, and you realize that you are sweating blood. They both suffer 2 face-down damage. So when Mandy takes the first one, she reaches her stamina, and gains the wounded condition, and then that second face-down damage. So the Migu moves 2 spaces to be within range of as many investigators as possible. Unfortunately, it's still only possible for it to be within range of Sister Mary. And then it attacks investigator within range who suffered the most horror. Still only her. The creature holds a strange bronze orb made of interlocking circles between its claws, twisting it this way and that. So Sister Mary has to do a will check. She's got a will of 5. Looking for 2 successes. She got him. She feels a sharp spike of pain in her temple, and various bad memories flicker through her mind's eye. Just flip 1 horror face up. Just a minor shock. She has to resolve a horror check against it, though. The creature holds a jar in its claws, twitching. Oh, it's the same one as before. So, 2 horror, will minus 1 negating. 4 dice. So she can, she doesn't have another clue, so she'll take that horror. Alright, well this is going to be her 8th horror. It is face up. She is disoriented, so she becomes dazed. And then Sister Mary, with her great sanity of 8, goes insane. So I removed all the insanity conditions that didn't have the 1-player ones. So she got obsessive. Sister Mary only wins the game if the investigation is complete and there are no search tokens on the board. Well, good luck with that, Sister Mary. Just being near the creature warps your senses, and you feel a pressure in your skull as though you are deep underwater. Mandy and Joe have to do a will test. Joe's got a will of 3. Alright, so he failed unless we spend this clue. Go ahead and let him pass. He manages to adjust his senses and maintain composure. He'll be flipping 1 horror face up and suffering 1 face down horror. Mandy, on the other hand, also can do the same. Oh, Joe has Horrific Arcana, suffers 1 additional face down horror for each spell you have, which he doesn't have any. But he does suffer 1 additional one for the remainder of that effect. Mandy has a Shrieking Fit. She becomes restrained and then discards this card. Well, that's fine. She's just going to fire at this thing. So she just screams and Aah! Alright, Joe Diamond's up first, and he's going to attack the Star Spawn with his shotgun. Joe's pounding heart makes his hands tremble as he lines up his shot. So that's an agility of 5. Alright, that's 3 successes. So he steadies his aim and fires. The monster suffers damage equal to the weapon's damage, which is 6. Diamond takes the face down damage from the fire, and then he fires again. He searches for any vulnerability that he can exploit. It's an observation test, which is only 3. But with a clue, that's 2 successes. So he manages to find a spot, and finally his shots begin to register, and the monster suffers damage equal to the weapon's damage, which is another 6. As Joe fires, his shots seem to braze... I use those words. As Joe fires, his shots seem to barely phase the creature. He searches for any vulnerability. Fuck off. Jesus fucking Christ. Fucking tripod's breaking. He searches for any vulnerability that he can exploit. It's an observation test, which is only 3. But with a clue, that's 2 successes. So he manages to find a spot, and finally his shots begin to register, and the monster suffers damage equal to the weapon's damage, which is another 6. So with his 8th damage taken from acting in the fire, Joe Diamond becomes wounded. Clears all that face down damage. Alright, the monster has 31 damage out of his 55 health, and Mandy Thompson's up next. She's going to fire at it with the 45 automatic. With the beast squarely in her sights, Mandy opens fire. Mandy's got an agility of 3. Oh, that's a whole bunch of nothing. So, yeah. She misses wildly despite her careful aim, as if the creature were not what it seemed to be, and she suffers 1 face-down horror for that tremendous failing. So she took that face-down horror and a face-down damage from acting in a space with fire. She'll go ahead and fire again. Her body and mind grows numb as the reality of the situation sinks in. She levels the firearm at the creature and pulls the trigger. Come on, agility. Alright, 2 successes. The loud bark of the weapon and the roar of the creature jolt you back to reality. The monster suffers damage equal to the weapon's damage. Then she flips 1 horror face down. Well, she doesn't have any face up for her, but the monster will take 4 damage. And Sister Mary is going to take a movement action. She takes 1 face down damage as she goes through there, and that is enough to wound her. Then she will attack this creature with her shriveling spell. Sister Mary closes her eyes and clenches her fists and recites the blasphemous phrase. So, Sister Mary has a lore of 4. Well, that's not good. Yeah, she doesn't have anything else to help her. So her eyes snap open, and the sight of the monster, coupled with the magic's backlash, twists her mind, and she suffers 1 face-down horror. And we flip her spell. It says, as you lower your hand, you see a putrid sore on your palm. She suffers 1 face-down damage. The fire spreads to the conservatory. Out of sight, a strange buzzing machine comes to life to carry on its dark purpose. Each investigator flips 1 damage and 1 horror face up, then becomes dazed. So Joe flipped up his horrific arcana. There's no damage to flip. Sister Mary's already dazed. She has a minor injury and a panic, so she'll suffer 1 additional face down damage. Mandy Thompson has a minor shock. and a grievous injury, and becomes dazed. A droning chant comes from the door. "Are you sure this is the right place?" Another person whispers just behind the first. So the star spawn moves one space, and then because it's not in the exit or within range of the investigator, it will move an additional space. So the Migu takes 2 spaces toward the closest investigator, suffers a damage, and then will attack the investigator with the lowest strength, which is Mandy. The creature lashes out with its crab-like claws, snapping and clasping her flesh. Mandy suffers 2 damage with her agility -1, negating. 2 dice. 2 successes, no damage. So Dark Druid moves 2 spaces toward the closest investigator. And then the Maniac moves 2 spaces toward the closest investigator. And now all 3 of our investigators will have to resolve a horror check against the Migu. The creature holds the jar in its claws, and everyone suffers 2 horror with will -1 negating. So Joe's will is 2, or 3 -1 is 2. He gets 1 success, so he takes 1 horror, which is a steely resolve. He becomes focused. Sister Mary, a will of 5, -1 is 4. Boom, no damage. She's seen this creepy thing before. And Maddie Thompson, 2 dice, 1 success. With the clues, it's 1 success. She takes 1 horror. It's frayed nerves. She has 1 fewer die when resolving will tests. So I think this game is just about wrapping up. Yeah, with only 1 turn from when this guy will reach the exit, I don't really think I can do enough damage, even if Joe successfully evaded and he got in here, and he got off a shotgun, and she did that as well. You know, I mean, like, ideally, that's like 6, 10, 13 damage. Well, might as well try it anyways. Alright, Joe's going to do a resolve an evade check against this monster. The creature spins a glittering golden thread between its claws, then flicks it out towards you. Joe suffers 2 damage with his agility negating. He's got an agility of 5. Woo! A big fat nothing. Alright, so he takes 2 damage, a minor injury, and a minor injury, and forfeits his action. So since he won't be able to get away, he'll just turn and take a shot at the Migu with his shotgun. Joe's pounding heart makes his hands tremble as he lines up his shot. An agility test again. Well, lots of investigation, but Joe, he's got a focused condition. So that's 4 successes. So he does 6 damage to the Migu, destroying it. Joe has to take 2 face down damage for acting in that fire. Then Mandy Thompson's going to go. She's going to go 1, 2. And come into this room. And then she'll resolve an attack against the big creature, shooting at it with her firearms again. Mandy fires reflexively at the sight of the beast, instinct taking action before her mind has fully processed the terrible creature. An agility test. And with a clue token, that's a success. And so her instincts reward her, and the monster suffers damage equal to the weapon's damage, which is 4. Sister Mary's going to do the same. Come in here and attack it with a spell. The sight of the creature fills you with fear, but you focus on that fear to rebuff the beast. Sister Mary's got a lore of 4. That's 2 successes. She reaches out her hand, and a wave of force slams the beast. The monster suffers damage equal to the spell's damage. Oh, then move the monster 1 space away from you. Sister Mary, what have you done? Unfortunately, the only legal placement, or the only legal movement, is to push the beast out here. Now, I'm not sure if it automatically escapes or anything like that. In either case, the remainder of Sister Mary's spell has no additional effect. Well, all the investigators have acted, and Sister Mary, having pushed the creature right out the door, has pretty much sealed our fate. The fire, of course, spreads. Here, why not? Then lights fade from around you, leaving anything even inches from your face obscured. Place darkness in each space in the ballroom, and then both our ladies will be resolving a mythos check there, or a mythos event. Stumbling to where you know there was a light, your hand can feel the heat coming from it, though your eyes cannot detect the slightest illumination. Suffer 3 face-down horror with will plus 1 negated. Sister Mary's got a will of 5, plus 1 is 6. So that is 1 face-down horror for her. Mandy Thompson has a will of 3, plus 1 is 4. That's 1 face-down horror for her, which is enough to drive her insane as well. So Mandy keeps her frayed nerves, but she gains the spread the truth insanity. So she would win if the investigation is complete, and she has 2 evidence unique items, which she definitely does. She has 4 actually, so she isn't really that insane. It says the star spawn moves 1 space toward the exit, and then it is not in the same space as the exit, which it is, so we'll tell it that the monster is in the same space as the exit. With a single blow, the monster destroys the splintering door and breaks the binding. The investigation is not complete. The horror bursts from the house and out into the streets of Arkham. Screams echo the early morning air. You stumble out in the dim light, but the horror, finally free, moves faster than you can manage to follow. Only death and destruction remains where it passes. An alien presence seems to stand beside you, a heavy aura of disappointment and sorrow seeping into you. The horror's assault on Arkham lasts for days, and try as you might, you cannot help but feel responsible for the city's mounting death toll.